next is the Dravya Vishesha Vijnaniyaadhyayam Vyakhyasyaamaha Yathovacha Bhagavan Dhanvantarihi. Dravya Vishesha in this chapter it's about it's most of the things are repeated like what we have discussed earlier, but it's a bit more detail about the Dravyas. तत्र पृथिवी अप्पु तेजो वायु आकाशानां समुदायात् द्रव्याभिनिवृत्तिः उत्कर्षस्तु अभिव्यञ्जको भवति इदं पार्थिवम् इदम् आप्यम् इदं तेजसम् इदं वायवम् इदं आकाशीयम् इति. Now it's the same Panchamahabhuta concept, like every substance in the body is having the molecules of the Panchamahabhuta, and based upon the prominence of each of the Mahabhuta, they are classified as either Parthiva, Apya, Tejasa, etc. Tatra sthula sandra manda sthira guru kathinam gandhabahulam ishak kashayam prayasho madhuramiti parthivam तत् स्थैर्य बल गौरव संघात उपदेक्रम विशेषतश्च अधोगति स्वभावम इति. The parthiva dravyas, they would have more of smell and they tend to have kashaya rasa or madhura rasa, and they are anabolic substances. They enhance the strength of the body, they enhance the mass of the body, and they make the body more compact. So such substances, they tend to have more of a passage towards, or rather they will have more residue, and hence they will enhance the quantity of the stools. So high residue substances which are nourishing, they can be considered as the parthiva dravya. Shita stimita snigdha manda guru sara sandra mrudu pichilam rasabahulam ishat kashayam lalavanam madhura rasaprayam apyam tat snehana khladana kledana bandhana vishyandana karam iti. The substances which have shita guna and snigdha guna, manda guna, and where the taste is the major presenting factor, and when you opt a substance for the taste of it, and either it could be kashaya, amla, lavana rasa or madhura rasa, and they enhance the humid content of the body, they produce a pleasant feeling, and they make the body more compact, and they tend to increase the fluid discharge from the body. Water output, it could be in the form of urine or maybe the sweat. Such substances are the apya dravyas. Ushna, Tishna, Sukshma, Ruksha, Khara, Laghu Vishadam, Rupa Bahulam, Ishad, Amla Lavanam, Kadurasa Prayam, Vishesharascha, Vurdhugati Swabhavam iti, Tejasam, Tad Dahana, Pachana, Dharana, Tapana, Prakashana, Prabha, Varana Karamiti. Substances which have a colorful appearance, Rupa Bahulam in the sense they have a colorful appearance, or substances which have Amla, Lavana, Katurasa, or and the Visheshas Urdhagati Swabhavam. Urdhagati Swabhavam means they tend to have more produce the feeling of either belching or maybe the vomiting like issues over the body, and they enhance the digestive capacity. Dahana, Pachana, Dharana. The Dahana, Pachana are the digestive capacity, and they are catabolic as such. They enhance the total breakdown of the substances, enhance the temperature, and they enhance the look of the body, the appearance of the body. Such substances are considered as Tejasa. Sukshma, Ruksha, Khara, Shishira, Laghu Vishadam, Sparsha Bahulam, Ishat Tiktam, Visheshata Kashayam, Vayaviyam, Tad Vaishadya, Laghava, Glapana, Virukshana, Vicharana Karam iti. The substances which are very light and they have a rough surface and cold to touch, and having a kashaya rasa, predominantly kashaya rasa, and they tend to make the body lighter, and they tend to produce some sort of discomfort to the body, dry up the body, and they enhance the space of tissue. That's the differentiation between the tissue is enhanced. Now, when we say well-built body, in a well-built body, you will see the muscles seen, that muscular appearance where the muscle sheaths are seen. So that kind of an appearance, like where the differentiation between the tissue is made visible, there's a vicharanakara. That kind of a property is of the Vataja or Vayaviya Dravyas. Slakshna, Sukshma, Mrudu, Vyavayi, Vishada, Viviktam, Avyaktarasam, शब्दबहुलम् आकाशीयम् तद् मार्दव शौशर्य लाघव कर्मिति. Substances which are very fine particles and soft, and they tend to have a space like, dusty. When I say spacey, in the sense dusty, and do not stick to each other. The particles do not stick to each other, and the taste is not very prominent. Such substances, they are called as akashiya rasa, and they tend to produce mardava shaushirya, the softness of the body, the tissue space is enhanced, and lightness of the body. Now these things are, we have already discussed, like Panchamahabhuta theory is simply a representation for the classification of the molecules. Now in those days, in our Indian mythology, the molecules were classified into 5 categories, whereas in Mendeleev's table now, though you have more than 116 these elements, the elements are classified based upon their chemical properties into 5 groups, and those groups are metals, metalloids, non-metals, lanthanides, and actinides. Now metals, like the first column, the hydrogen and others, they are the highly active substances, where the last column, they are the inert substances. They have very little chemical activity. They do not react with any of the substances. And that inertness is the parthiva guna, and the extreme lightness and hyperactivity is the akashiya guna. So the rationality of classifying the elements based upon their chemical properties is exactly based upon the Mahabhuta theory. The only thing is, now we have more details in terms of the detail 116 names of these elements. Now original Mendeleev's table had exactly 5 columns. Now lanthanides and actinides now are pushed into a separate row, 2 rows, whereas the original would have the same, and there you have exactly the 5 separations as such. Anyway, a bit more about that we had discussed earlier, so I will not waste time on that. Anena nidarshanena nana aushadibhutam jagati kinchit dravyam asti iti krutva tam yukti vishesham artham cha abhisamiksha savirya guna yuktani dravyani karmakani bhavanti. So based upon this, because of the Panchamahabhuta constitution, every substance in the body would have some impact on the physiology of the body. So there is no substance which will not have an impact on the body, either positive or negative. And hence, every substance in the body can be either used as a medicine based upon the context. And the contexts would be Tadani yada kurvanti sakalaha, the time, yad kurvanti tat karma, the expected function, yena kurvanti tad viryam, the functionality or pharmacological activity of the drug itself is the virya. Yatra kurvanti tadadhikaranam, the base where the actions are seen, either it could be the whole body or it could be a specific tissue where the pharmacological actions are reflected, that's the adhikaranam. Yatha kurvanti upaya, the mode of action is the upaya. Yan nishpadyanti tat phalam, the outcome, these are the therapeutic effect. So exactly the pharmacological words, these are the exact words which are used in Ayurveda for the pharmacological activity. Tatra virechana dravyani prativyamgunam bhuvistani prativyapo gurvyaha tani gurutvad adhogachanti. Rationality of identifying the pharmacological action of a drug would be based upon its constitution, and if there is a parthiva dravya or the jala mahabhuta, atma mahabhuta, apya dravya, then it tends to produce virechana because they are the heavy substances. Tasmat virechanam adhogunam bhuvistam anumanat. Now, so you can expect, or a pharmacological effect of a drug can be predicted based upon its constitution, that's the contents of the Mahabhutas. Vamana dravyani agnivayu guna bhuvistani agnivayu hi laghu laghutvatani urdhum uttishtanti tasmad vamana api urdhva guna bhuvistam. Now the vamana dravya, they are mainly agnivayu guna predominant substances because they are laghu and they tend to move upwards, and hence they induce the vamana. So that's it. Ubhaya guna bhuvistam ubhaya bhagam akasha. Now when you have the properties of both laghu as well as guru, the constitution would be of Mahabhutas of heavy variety as well as the light variety. Then it becomes Ubhayato Bhagahara. Akashaguna Bhuistam Samshamanam. If there is Akashaguna Bhuista Dravya, that can be Samshamana. It can reduce or maybe modify the physiological activity without eliminating as such. Sangrahikam Anilaguna Bhuistam, Anilaguna Bhuista Bata Vayaviya Dravya, it tends to make the body more compact by reducing the fluid content, drying up. Anila say Shoshanatmakatvata, because Anila is drying up, so it reduces the total water content of the body and hence the total mass of the body could be reduced. Deepanam Agniguna Bhuistam Tatsamanattvata. Deepana properties, those substances enhance the digestion activity of the body, they are usually Agniguna Bhuistat. Lekhanam Analaguna Bhuistam. Lekhana Dravya are having the prominence of Vata as well as Agneya Mahabhuta or Vayu as well as Agni Mahabhuta. Brahmanam Prithvi Ambuguna Bhuistam. Prithvi Ambuguna Bhuista Dravya would be Brahmana anabolic. That's the same thing which we have discussed, it's somewhat repetition. Evam Aushadha Karmani Anumanat Sadhayat. So, pharmacological activity of a substance can be assessed by Anumana, by knowing the contents of the substances. Bhutejo Varije Dravyehi Shamam Yati Samiranaha. Bhumyambu Varijehi Pittam Kshipram Apnoti Nivratim. Kha Tejo Anilajaihi Shleshma Shamam Eti Sharirana. Viyat Pavana Jatabhyam Buddhim Aphyeti Marutaha. Agneam Veroya Dravyam Tena Pittam Udirete. Vasudha Jalajatabhyam Balasa Parivardhate. Now, the direct effect upon the doshas based upon the Mahabhuta constitution is again repeated, of course, but it is presented in a more compact manner in the form of shloka. A substance which has prominence of Prithvi Mahabhuta, Tejo Mahabhuta, and Apya Mahabhuta, it can result in Vata Shamana. And a substance which have Prithvi Mahabhuta, Jala Mahabhuta, and Vayu Mahabhuta, it reduces also Piktam Kshipram Apnoti. It also can reduce the Pitta activity. A substance which has a Khatejo Anila, that's Akasha Mahabhuta, Agni Mahabhuta, and Vayu Mahabhuta, then its Shleshma Samamyati, it can reduce the Shleshma activity, Kapha activity. Substance which has the Akasha Mahabhuta, Vayu Mahabhuta only, it can enhance the Vata property. And Agneya Dravya, the substance which has Agni Mahabhuta, can enhance the Pitta property. And the substances which have the Prithvi and Jala Mahabhuta, they can enhance the Kapha property. So this way, any of the doshas can be manipulated based upon the substance of the Dravya, and that's how the basis of the pharmacological use of a substance. Evam etat gunadikyam dravye vinishtitam disho va bahusho vapi jantva dosheshu cha achareta. So you may combine the drugs, substances which are available and use them for the management of the diseases by producing a change in the doshas. That's the basis of as such. Tatra yaime gunaha virya samyakaha. Then the virya of the substances also is based upon the Mahabhutas. Virya is the pharmacological activity or pharmacological effect. Shita Usna Stigda Ruksha Mrudu Tikshna Pichila Vishadaha Tesham Tikshna Usno Agneyo. The viryas again, if it is now again what we have discussed in the previous, primarily it's Ushna and Shita Virya, but there could be, you may assess the viryas in the 8 categories, and those are Shita Usna Stigda Ruksha Mrudu Tikshna Pichila Vishadaha. Among them, Tikshna Usna Agneyo. Tikshna Usna viryas are Agneya Guna, Agni Mahabhuta Gunas. Shita Pichila Ambuguna Bhuisto. Shita and Pichila properties are the Ambuguna, Prithvi Mahabhuta, Jala Mahabhuta. Prithvi Ambuguna Bhuistaha Sneha, the Sneha Guna, that's which enhances the humid content of the body, that is Prithvi Ambu Mahabhuta. And Toya Akashaguna Bhuistam Mrudutvam, it enhances the softness of the body. Soft tissues are enhanced by the Jala Mahabhuta, Akashaguna Mahabhuta Dravya. Vayuguna Bhuistam Roksham, if there is a Vayuguna enhance in a substance that enhances the dryness of the body. Kshiti Samirana Guna Bhuistam Vaishadyam, the Prithvi Mahabhuta and Vayu Mahabhuta involved or contain drugs, they will produce Vaishadya or space is enhanced. Vipaka Ukta Guna, the Vipaka also would be accordingly the same logic. That the Usna Stigdho Vatagna, if there is a Usna Stigdha Guna in a substance, that becomes Vatagna. These are the gunas of the substance. Shita Mrudu Pichila Pittagnaha, a substance which has a Shita Mrudu Pichila Guna. Now, Shita Mrudu Pichila Guna is based upon the Mahabhuta constitution, but for a clinical appearance or a simple assessment, it's the guna, other gunas, the Lagu or Guruvar gunas which are visible. The Mahabhuta gunas are not directly visible, they have to be analyzed based upon the other properties or maybe the textual description. Whereas the gunas can be assessed directly by whether it is Usna Snigdha guna of a substance or Shita Mrudu Picchala guna of a substance, that can be assessed by physical examination, and a Shita Mrudu Picchala substance would be Pittagna. Tikshna Ruksha Vishadaha Shleshmagnaha, Tikshna Ruksha Vishada gunas are Shleshmagnaha, they can be used in Kapha property. Now, similarly, with the Vipaka, Guru Paka Vatapittagnaha. Now, about Vipaka also, there is a difference of the perception. Usually, the Vipakas are mentioned as Madhura, Katu, Vipakas, whereas the other way is Guru and Laghu also. Guru Pakaha Vatapittagnaha, Laghu Pakaha Shleshmagnaha. Tesham Mrudu Shita Ushnaha Sparshagrahya. Now, how to assess the properties would be by the sensation. Mrudu Shita Ushna Guna, they could be assessed by the touch sensation. Pichila Vishada Chakshuspashabhyam. Pichila and Vishada Guna, they can be made out by either the visible appearance as well as the touch sensation. Snigdha Ruksha Chakshusha. Snigdha and the Ruksha Gunas are made out by the visible, the vision examination, that whether there is a more of fineness or dryness, or whether the molecule of a substance is smooth or rough, that can be assessed by the visible appearance. Now, rough and smoothness assessed by the touch, and roughness and smoothness assessed by the vision. Now, these are the two important issues. Roughness assessed by the touch sensation is about the consistency of the substance. Roughness assessed by the vision examination would be about the surface characters of the substance. So when it is snigdha and the ruksha guna assessed by the eye, touch, vision sensation, it's about the surface characters which is made out. Tikshno mukhe dukkhopadanath. Tikshna guna can be assessed by the feeling of sensation in the oral cavity when you keep the substance in the oral cavity, which we call as spicy. Now, later on, when we discuss about the rasa, I will come to that part. See, tastes otherwise are sensed by the taste buds, but the spicy, what we call as the hot, that's sensed by the sensory sensations which take up the thermal temperature. In the previous session, we had discussed about that Nobel Prize award for that the chilies being considered as hot. That's the basic issue. Now, Tishna Guna is assessed by the sensory sensations. Guru Pakaha Sustavinmutaya Kafu Kleshanaja. Guru Paka is assessed by the impact on the body after the digestion of the substance. When a substance consumed would produce a easy passage of stools and urine or kapha utklesha. It enhances the kapha, slimy secretions of the body. Then you can assess that the substance is having Guru Paka. Laguhu Baddha Vinmutrataya Martha Kopena. A Lagu substance can be assessed by the impact on the body by in terms of reducing the output of fecal and urinary output and the features which are produced due to enhanced vata. तत्र तुल्यगुणेषु भूतेषु रसवैशेष्यम् उपलक्ष्येत तद्यथा मधुरो गुरुश्च पार्थिवः मधुरः स्निग्धः इत्यादि आप्यः इति. Now, the rasa vaisheshya also can be assessed based upon the bhuta gunas, and the same, it's a bit of repetition. Gunaha yavuktaha draveshu sharireshu vichate tatha sthana vruddhikshaya tasmat dehinam dravehetukaha. So, the properties of the substances in the universe are the same as that of the properties of the substances in the body, and hence what Chanaka says as Andapinda Brahmanda Nyaya, whatever you have in the body and whatever you have in the universe are the same, and hence the substances in the universe can be used for the treatment or manipulation of the body functions. That's the summary. तथा सुश्रुत संहितायां सूत्रस्थाने द्रव्य विशेष विज्ञानीय चत्वारिंशत् अध्यायः. The next is about the rasa vishesha vijnaniyam adhyayam vyakhyasyaamah. The next chapter is about the rasa vishesha vijnana. Again, it's a continuation of the same. In the last part of the previous chapter, there was a reference about the rasas. Now you have more of the description about the rasas. Akasha pavana dahana toya bhumishu यथा संख्यम एकोत्तर परिवर्ताः शब्द स्पर्श रूप रसगंधाः तस्मात् आप्यो रसः. So apya rasa sensation, the taste sensation, is the responsibility of apmahabhuta, and every substance would have the molecules of the five mahabhutas. Substance which has more of the apya mahabhuta can be easily tasted. The taste can be easily appreciated. Whereas the substances which have lesser of Mahabhuta, the taste appreciation is lesser. So degree of taste perception is related to the total content of the Mahabhuta. Paraspara Mahabhuta, I don't translate it as water. So that's not to be translated as water. It's all important, and Prithvi Mahabhuta should not be translated as earth. So that kind of a translation is a mistranslation and doesn't give you the proper idea. It's about the chemical property of the molecules. परस्पर संसर्गात् परस्पर अनुग्रहात् परस्पर अनुप्रवेशात् च सर्वेषु सर्वेषां सान्निध्यम् अस्ति. उत्कर्ष अपकर्षात् तु ग्रहणम्. The same thing, every substance would have every five molecules of type of the molecules, but based upon the prominence you may name them as the parthiva, apya, etc. सखलु आप्यो रसः शेषभूत संसर्गात् विदग्धः षोडः विभज्यते. तद्यथा मधुरो अम्लो लवणः कटुकः तिक्तः कषाय इति. The rasa apya guna is one, but that apya rasa guna can be assessed by it's due to the combination with the other mahabhutas. It is again classified into the six rasas, and those are madhuraha, amlaha, lavanaha, katuhu, tiktah, kashaya iti. Teja bhuyah paraspara samsargat trishasthira vibhadyante. By the combination of the rasas, again the permutation number of these would be the 63. Trishasthira, 63 is the rasas, and the same would be also named as pravicharana in the charaka. Tatra bhumi ambu guna bahulyat madhuraha, a substance which has more of bhumi or prithvi mahabhuta, ambu mahabhuta or jala mahabhuta, that would be having madhura rasa. Bhumi agni guna bahulyat amlaha, bhumi agni guna having substances are amla rasa. Toya agni guna bahulyat lavanaha, the salty sensation is due to the toya agni guna. Vayu agni guna bahulyat katukaha, the vayu agni guna would be increase in the katu rasa. Vayuvakasha guna bahulyat tiktaha, prithvi anila guna bahulyat kashaya. So the mahabhuta constitution of the rasas is said. Like now, the controversy now is whether the taste is a physical property of a substance or chemical property of a substance, or whether the taste is a result of the sensory stimulus over the taste buds. That's the point. In the present day situation, you have a new development, what's called as a science of dealing with the digital aspect of the taste sensation. Now we have come to a level where a digital message can be transmitted, which can produce the taste sensation, a electrical stimulus, type of the electrical stimulus, which can produce the stimulus of the taste buds, can be transmitted to the computer, and a taste can be appreciated. So that's the one view of the taste. So whether the taste is a property of the substance or not. This is the debating point. I'll come to that part at the end of this discussion, some of the newer developments. But people who follow that kind of a logic, they say that the whole theory of rasa is nonsense, but it's not. There is other view also, so I'll come to that other view. Anyway, the important is that the pharmacological effect of a drug can be predicted based upon the taste sensation from Ayurvedic point of view, and this has a value for the future. That part is again is something which I'll discuss at the end of this chapter. तत्र मधुराम्ललवणाः वातज्ञाः मधुरतिक्तकषायाः पित्तज्ञाः कटुतिक्तकषायाः श्लेष्मज्ञाः. The rasas like madhuramlalavana, they have the vatagna property, madhuratikta kashaya pitagna property, katatikta kashaya kapagna property. Tatra vayoho atmeyo atma pittam magneyam shleshma saumya iti. Because the results are this kind of effect is predicted because of the mahabhuta guna of this doshas. There is a similarity of the mahabhuta guna in the rasa, and hence एते रसाः स्वयोनिवर्धनाः अन्ययोनि प्रशमनाश्च वृद्धिः समानैः सर्वेषां. That's the theory. विपरीतैः विपर्ययः. The same, when there is a similar substance added to that will enhance the similar property, and a dissimilar will reduce the property as such, and based upon that the doshas can be manipulated. केचिदाहुः अग्निसौम्यत जगतः रसाः द्विविधः सौम्याः आग्नेयश्च मधुरतिक्तकषायाः सौम्याः कटुअम्ललवण आग्नेयः. Now, another view of the rasa property would be, instead of considering that the 6 pharmacological types of rasas, then it can be categorized, grouped into 2, and those are Madhuratikta Somya, because they will have the Somya guna, they will enhance the anabolic, and Katumla Lavana Agneha, catabolic. So the whole rasa functions again can categorize into anabolic and catabolic. Madhuramlu Lavana Snigdaha Guravascha, Katatikta Ruksha Lagavascha. So it's a linkage between the guna and the rasa. The Laghu, Snigdha and Guru Guna, they are related to Madhuramla Lavana, and Ruksha Laghu Gunas are related to the Katu Tikta Kashaya Rasa, Saumyaha Shitaha, Agneyaha, Usnaha. Tatra, Shaitya, Rauksha, Lagho, Vishadya, Vaisambya, Gunalakshana, Vayu. Vayu would have the Vata Mahabhuta, Vata Dosha in the property, in the body, would have the Shaitya, Rauksha, Lagho, Vaishadya Guna, which is already discussed in the Dosha chapter. Tasya Samanayoni Kashaya Rasaha. The Kashaya Rasa would have the similar property. So, Asya Shaityat Shaityam Murdheti, Raukshad Rauksham, Laghavat Laghavam, Vaishadyat Vaishadyam, Vaisambhyat Vaisambhyam iti. Now, this is another very important logic. You may have a substance which can be categorized as the Vayu Mahabhuta effect, like which is predominantly Vayu Mahabhuta, Vayavya Dravya. But whether to use a substance in a specific disease condition or not, it also will be depending upon the required effect over the body. Like suppose a person has a Vata Vyadhi where the Shita Guna has become enhanced, then you will be preferring a substance which would have a Ushna Guna, or rather a substance which has a Shita Guna as such can enhance the Shita Guna of the Vata. An ice cream consumed can produce a body ache in a person after the consumption of the ice cream. That's because of the Shita Guna of the ice cream that the Vata Vriddhi has occurred. Raukshad Rauksham, a dry substance, can enhance the dryness of the body. As such, a junk food can enhance the dryness of the body. Laghavat Laghavam, a light substance can enhance the lightness of the body. So that Vata Guna can be enhanced, or a specific Vata Guna can be enhanced or reduced, modified rather, based upon the specific substance of the or specific property of that substance. The same is true with every doshas. So Samana Yoni and the Samana Guna, these are the two aspects. Samana Yoni is the constitution. Samana Guna is the visible property of the substance, prominent property of the substance. Based upon that, the substance can be selected for the treatment, as well as the substance could be a cause for the specific symptoms of the doshas. Aushnya, Taikshnya, Rauksha, Lagho, Vaishadya Guna Lakshanam, Pittam. The Pitta would have the same property. And that's a now when I gave the example of ice cream again, ice cream, because of its cold property, it can produce enhancement of the Shita guna of Vata and hence body ache, whereas ice cream also has more of that the creamy substance. It can enhance the kapha and hence that could be the kaphaja vyati kaphaja lakshanas. Ice cream also has many preservatives and other chemicals added which can enhance the pitta guna, and that how it can produce the jvara. So it's a tridosha kara. It enhances the jvara. So on. So this way you may apply the logic to any of the substances which can produce the diseases. The same logic is enhanced. औष्ण्य तैक्ष्ण्य रौक्ष्य लाघव वैशद्य गुण लक्षणं वित्तं तस्य समानयोनिः कटुको रसः. सो अस्य औष्ण्यात् औष्ण्यं वर्धयति, तैक्ष्ण्यात् तैक्ष्ण्यं, रौक्ष्यात् रौक्ष्यं, लाघवात् लाघवं, वैशद्यात् वैशद्यम् इति. So same issue, because of the similar property is enhanced or reduced. माधुर्य स्नेह गौरव शैत्य पैचिल्य गुणलक्षणाः श्लेष्मा तस्य समानयोनिः मधुरो रसः. सो अस्य माधुर्यात् माधुर्यं वर्धयति, स्नेहात् स्नेहं, गौरवात् गौरवं, शैत्यात् शैत्यं, पैचिल्यात् पैचिल्यम् इति. So simply because a substance has a madhura rasa, the impact on the kapha may not be uniform. A madhura rasa substance, a mango which is sweet, and this draksha which is sweet, and the pomegranate which is sweet may not have the same effect on the kapha, because it may have the different other properties, and hence there will be a variation of the impact of the rasa over the body, and the impact on the each dosha would be depending upon the other properties of that substance, and hence the issue becomes now bit more complex, but it can be assessed practically, and it can be proved clinically. You can demonstrate it clinically. तस्य पुनः अन्ययोनिः कटुको रसः सश्लेष्मणः प्रत्यनीकत्वात् कटकत्वात् माधुर्यम् अभिभवति, रौक्ष्यात् स्नेहं, लाघवात् गौरवम्, औष्ण्यात् शैत्यं, वैशद्यात् पैच्छिल्यम् इति तदेतत् निदर्शनमात्रम् उक्तं भवति. Now, as a simile enhances, the dissimilar opposite properties also can be reduced, and hence the examples are the same. श्लेष्मण प्रत्यनीकत्वात् कटुकत्वात् माधुर्यम् अभिभवति. A katu rasa would be suppressing the madhura guna of a substance, raukshat sneham, so on. So there will be opposite properties. So rasalakshanam matavurdhum vakshamaha tatrayah परितोषम् उत्पादयति, प्रह्लादयति, तर्पयति, जीवयति, मुखोपलेपं जनयति, श्लेष्माणां च अभिवर्धयति समुधरः. Now the definition of these rasas, what is madhura rasa? Sweet. The sweet is taste is something which produces a pleasant feeling. Paritosham utpadayati, prahladayati. It makes the body more active. Tarpayati. It enhances the nourishment of the body. Jivayati. It can stimulate the physiological functions of the body. Mukhopalekam janayati. It sticks to the mouth, or the taste perception can remain for a longer duration. Such a taste is, and kapha shleshmanam abhivardayati. Kapha lakshana is enhanced. Such a taste is madhura rasa. So that's how you have to define the madhura. So madhura defined as sweet may not be very accurate. To a great extent it's accurate, because when you say madhura rasa, it's not simply the perception of the sweetness, it also is about the physiological activity of the substance which has to be considered. Yo dandaharsham utpadayati. So a saccharine which is sweet may not be categorized as a madhura rasa dravya, because it may not have the same effect like a paritosha, tarpana, jivana effect. Saccharine even cyanide, a toxic substance, which is considered as a madhura rasa, but it will have a vivai vikasi guna. So it's a sweet taste, but it may not have the property of a madhura rasa, which can have vivai vikasi guna and which can immediately kill. It doesn't have the jivana guna. So this is important. All that problem would be because we have become accustomed to the translation of madhura as sweet and amla as sour and so on. But there is something more than simply that translation. That's the important thing which you have to now clearly understand. Yo dandaharsham utpadayati, mukhasravam janayati, shabdhanta utpadayati. So amlaha. The amla rasa is defined as something which produces dandaharsha, that feeling of the irritation in the teeth, and mukhasravam enhances the secretions of the oral cavity. Janayati, shabdhanta utpadayati. it you make it make you to feel more pleasant or more active. That's the amla rasa. यो भक्तरुचिमुत्पादयति कफप्रसेकं जनयति माधवं चापादयति स लवणः. Lavana rasa would be enhancing the taste of the other substances which are consumed, and kafprasekam janayati, it produces the discharges from the oral cavity, and madhavam tapayati, produces the softness of the tissue. Yo jihvagram bhadate udvegam janayati shirograndite nasikam sraveti sakatukaha. Katurasa is which produces irritation of the tongue and enhances the anxiety. Nasikam sraveti produces the these discharges from the oral cavity, and so on. Now, that katurasa, the hot sensation, is a sensation which is carried by the somatic sensory nerve fibers, not by the taste buds. There are the which we have discussed in the previous session. As per the present knowledge physiology, the taste buds are primary tastes are 5: the umami, and then sweet, sour, and salt. Now, this doesn't have that spicy. The spicy, the sixth rasa is sensed by the sensory perception, somatic perception, and I think that's what we have already discussed about that Nobel Prize award and so on. Now, that's the point. Yo gale josham utpadeti mukhayashidyam janati bhaktaruchim vyapadeti harsham sasatiktaha, a taste, a sensation which produces a dryness of the oral cavity and cleanliness of the oral cavity, enhances the taste of the food which is taken later, and that kind of a substance is the tiktarasa. Sorry, it's not enhancing, reduces, impacts the taste of the food substances which is taken, as well as doesn't produce a pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling. That's the tiktarasa. Yo vaktram parishosheti jihvam stambheti kantam badnati hridayam karshati pidayati saja kashayaha. A kashaya rasa is producing the dryness of the oral cavity and can even make the taste tongue numb, and may produce a tightness in the throat, and can even reduce your activity, the physical activity. That can be considered as kashaya rasa. Rasagunan ata urdhva mokshyamah tatra madhuro rasah rasa rakta mamsa medo asti madhya oja shukra stanya vardhanah chakshushyaha keshyah varnyah balakrita sandhanah shonita rasa prasadanah bala vruddha kshata kshina hitah षट्पद पिपीलिकानां इष्टः इष्टतमः तृष्णा मूर्छा दाह प्रशमनः षडीन्द्रिय प्रसादनः कृमि कफकरश्चेति स एवं गुणोऽपि एक एव अत्यक्तम् आसेव्यमानः कास श्वास अलसक वमथु वदन माधुर्य स्वरोपघात कृमि गलगंडान् आपादयति तथा अर्बुद श्रीपद बस्ति गुद उपलेप अभिष्यन्द प्रभृतिं जनयति. Madhurarasa would have a positive impact on the anabolic aspects of the different tissues, and it can enhance the activity of the eyes, clarity of the vision, keshaha, the hairs could be better, and the color of the body could be enhanced, the physical strength of the body could be enhanced, and it's good for bala vruddha kshatakshina hitaha, malnourished conditions. It's good for them. It's liked by all the insects. Shatpada pipilikanam mishtaramah. Insects, they tend to they like that taste rasa. Krishna murcha daha prashamanaha. The persons who are on the verge of going into unconsciousness or having excess of thirst, they can be revived with madhura rasa. And Shadinjaya prasadanaha enhances the activity of all the indriyas. Krimi kapha karashteti, it enhances the krimi content and kapha content of the body. So if it is used in excess, it can produce the diseases like kasa, shwasa, alasaka, etc. And arbuda like diseases could be produced. Amlaha, amlo jaranaha, pachanaha, deepanaha, pamana nigrahano, anulomanaha, koshtamidhi, bahishitaha, क्लेदनः प्रायशो हृद्यश्चेति स एवं गुणोऽपि एक एव अत्यक्तमुपसेव्यमानो दन्तहर्ष नयन सम्मीलन रोम संवेदन कफ विलयन शरीर शैथिल्यानि आपादयति तथा क्षत अभिहत दग्ध दष्ट भग्न रुग्ण शूद प्रच्युत अवमुत्रित विसर्पित छिन्न भिन्न विद्धोत्पिष्टादयिनि पाचयति. Agneya Swabhavat Paridahati, Kantam Guru Hridayam Cheti. Now, Amla Rasa is Pachana, Deepana, and it also is Anulomana, produces a burning sensation in the abdomen, but a cool feeling over the exterior of the body. And Hridyaha, it makes you feel better. So, if it is taken in excess, it can produce the diseases like Dandharsha, Nayana Samyalana, etc. And it enhances the possibility of pus formation or paka once the person is injured. Any form of the injury, it could be an open injury, it could be a blunt trauma, it could be a burn, or it could be a bite by an insect, or it could be a fracture, or it could be a swelling produced due to the disease. Any of these conditions, the chances of a pus formation, pachayati, that chances of the pus formation is enhanced when you take more of the amla rasa. So amla rasa is one of the substances which can produce the pus as such. Paridehati kantam murohdayam cheti. Lavanaha samshodanaha pachanaha vishleshanaha kledanaha शैथिल्यकृत उष्णः सर्वरसप्रत्यनीकः मार्गविशोधनः सर्वशरीर अवय मार्गवकरश्चेति स एवं गुणोऽपि एकम् एव अत्यर्थमानः आसेव्यमानः गात्रकण्डु कोठ शोफ वैवर्ण्य पुंस्तोपघात इन्द्रियोपताप मुख अक्षिपाक रक्तपित्त वातशोणिताः अम्लिका प्रभृतीन् आपादयति. Now the lavana rasa, it pachana, vishleshana, these are the same. Kledana, the body discharges are enhanced. It is a ushna rasa, and sarva rasa pratyanikaha, it enhances the presence or the perception of all the other rasas. So the lavana rasa added to a food substance will enhance the taste perception of that food substances. Marga vishodhanaha, any of the srotorotha is cleared by the lavana rasa, and Shadoshrira Avaya Mardavakarashcheti. And consumed in excess, it can produce Gatrakandu, Kotha, etc. The diseases it could be produced. Patukaha, Deepana, Pachana, Rochana, Shodhanaha, Sthaulya, Alasya, Kapakrimi, Vishakusta, Kandu, Prashamanaha, Sandibanda Vichedanaha, Avasadanaha, Sanya Shukra Metasa, Mubhanta Cheti, Sa Eva Munopi, Eka Eva, Atyartam Sevyamanaha, Brahma, Mada, Gala, Talu, Vosta, Shosha, Daha, Santapa, Bala, Vighata, कंपतोद भेदकृत करचरण पार्श्वपृष्ठ प्रभृतिषु च वातशूलान् आपादयति. Katurasa can enhance the vatashulas in the body if it is consumed in excess, and it's a pachana, rochana, shodhana, etc. Tiktah chedano, rochano, deepanah, shodhanah, kandu, kota, krishna, murcha, dvara prashamanah, stanya shodhanah, vilmutra, kleda, medo, vasa, puya, upashoshanashcheti, sa evam gunopi, eka eva atyartam usevemanah, गात्रं मन्या स्तंभ आक्षेपक अर्दित शिरशूल ब्रह्म तोद भेद छेद आस्यवैरस्यानि आपादयति. It can produce these diseases if it is consumed in excess. कषाय संग्राहको रोपण स्तंभनः शोधनो लेखन शोषणः पीडनः क्लेदोपशोषणश्चेति स एवं गुणोपि एक एव अत्यर्थम् उपसेव्यमानः हृत्पीडा आस्यशोष उदर आज्ञान वाक्यग्रह मन्यास्तंभ गात्रस्फुरण चुमचुमायन आकुंजन क्षेपण प्रवृत्तिं जनयति. The kashaya rasa, it's a stambana shodhana, and it can produce the diseases like hrutpeda, asyashosha, vakyagraha, dysphasia, difficulty in speech. Tata sarvesham eva dravyani upadekshamaha. Now, how these rasas are related to the ganas. Tadyatha kakolyadihi. Kakolya Gana is an example of the Madhura Rasa, and the Madhura Rasa Dravyas. They commonly used to Madhura Rasa Dravyas, which are considered as Madhura Varga. Kshira Grita Vasa Madhya Shali Sastika Yava Godhuma Masha Sringataka Kaseruka Trapusa Yervaruka Karkaruka Alabu Kalindaka Kataka Gilodi Priyala Pushkara Bija Pushkar Bija Kashmiriya, Madhuka, Draksha, Khanjura, Rajadana, Tala, Narikera, Ikshuvikara, Bala, Atibala, Atmagupta, Vidari, Payasya, Gokshura, Kshira, Morata, Madhulika, Kushmanda, Prabhutini, Samasena, Madhuro Vargaha. Now, these substances we have discussed in detail in the Dravya Guna chapter, the previous Dravya Sangra chapter. So these are the Madhura Dravya. Darima, Amalaka, Matulunga, Amrataka, Kapitha, Karamarda, Badara, Kola, Prakina Malaka, Tintidika, Koshamraka, ಭವ್ಯ ಪಾರಾವತ ವೇತ್ರಫಲ ಲಕುಚ ಅಮ್ಲವೇತಸ ದಂತಶಠ ದಧಿ ತಕ್ರ ಸುರ ಶುಕ್ತ ಸವೀರಕ ತುಶೋದಕ ಧಾನ್ಯಾಮ್ಲ ಪ್ರವೃತ್ತೀನಿ ಸಮಾಸೇನ ಅಮ್ಲವರ್ಗ. ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಅಮ್ಲ ದ್ರವ್ಯಸ್. ಸೈಂಧವ ಸಂವರ್ಚಲ ಬಿಡಪಾಕಿ ರೋಮಕ ಸಾಮುದ್ರಕ ಪಕ್ತಿಮ ಯವಕ್ಷಾರ ಊಷರ ಪ್ರಸೃತ ಸುವರ್ಚಿಕ ಪ್ರಭೃತೀನಿ ಸಮಾಸೇನ ಲವಣವರ್ಗ. पिप्पल्यादि सुरसादि शिग्रु मधुशिग्रु मूलक लशुन सुमुख शीत शिव कुष्ठ देवदारु हरेणुक अवलगुज फल चंड गुग्गुलु मुस्त लांगलकी शुकनास पीलु प्रभृतीनि सारसारादिश्च प्रायशः कटुको वर्गः. These are the katu dravyas. Arakvadadigana, Gurutyaadigana, Mandukaparna, ವೇತ್ರ ಕರೀರ ಹರಿದ್ರ ದ್ವಯ ಇಂದ್ರಯವ ವರುಣ ಸ್ವಾದುಕಂಟಕ ಸಪ್ತಪರ್ಣ ಬೃಹತಿ ದ್ವಯ ಶಂಖಿನಿ ದ್ರವಂತಿ ತ್ರಿವೃತ್ತ ಕೃತವೇದನ ಕರ್ಕೋಟಕ ಕಾರವೇಲಕ ವಾರ್ತಾಕ ಕರವೀರ ಸುಮನ ಶಂಖಪುಷ್ಪಿ ಅಪಮಾರ್ಗ ತ್ರಾಯಮಾಣ ಅಶೋಕ ರೋಹಿಣಿ ವೈಜಯಂತಿ ಸುವರ್ಚಲ ಪುನರ್ನವ ವೃಶ್ಚಿಕಾದಿ ज्योतिष्मति प्रभृतीनि समासेन तिक्तो वर्गः. These are तिक्त द्रव्य. न्यग्रोधादिः अंबष्टादिः प्रियंगादिः रोधादिः त्रिफला शल्लगी जम्बू आम्र बकुल तिन्दुक फलानि कटक शाख फल पाषाण भेदक वनस्पति फलानि सारसारादिश्च प्रायशः कुरुबक कोविदार जीवंती चिल्ली पालंकी सुनीषण्णाक प्रभृतीनि वरकादयः मुद्गादयश्च समासेन कषाय वर्गः. These are the substances which are classified into the vargas. In Charaka Samhita they are named as skandhas, Madhura skandha, Chitta skandha, etc. A bit of all that we have discussed in the Dravya Guna chapter earlier, so I will not waste much time on that. Tatra yasesham rasanam sayogah trishashti bhavati. Now that 63 varieties of the rasa bhedas are tadyata panchadesha dvikaha vimshati tiktaha त्रिकाः पंचदश चतुष्काः षट् पंचकाः एकशः षट् सदः एकः षट्क इति. The substances which have two rasas, they will be 15, 20 are those three, panchadasha 15 are the chatushka vat, that is a set of 4. Now this is the mathematical representation, permutation, combination, the set theory, a set of 2, set of 3, set of 4, set of 5, and of course the set of 6 षट् rasa. Ekah षट्कः, ekarasa is 6 and hence they are 63. भवति चात्र जग्दाः षडधिगच्छन्ति बलिनो वशतां रसाः यथा प्रभुता दोषा वशं यान्ति विलयसः. Ultimately this can become infinite if you have still more variations. Now coming to the other point, now at one stage the taste sensation is considered as simply an electrical property, and the taste can be transmitted through the computer and the person can be made to appreciate the taste. But at the same time, there is another view which is now coming up and which is popular, and there is a chemical identity of the taste molecules, the substances, molecular property of the substance which can produce the taste, and the structure of bitter and sweet molecules are now identified and they are described. I will not go into much of the detail. Those who want to have more detailed study can refer to this article. It's a complicated neuroscience as such. And but that taste substances, taste and the smell combined together, they are now converted into the molecular properties. Artificial molecules are now being synthesized, and more of this knowledge is used in the production of artificial food and artificial taste as such, what we call as essences of the substances. Molecules of these vanilla or butter and orange, their structures are now defined, and when you have these molecules, the same taste perception is felt. But therapeutic use of this molecular knowledge is not at all there in the contemporary science. But I am sure in a few years to come, these properties can even come into the pharmacological arena, and till then we need to preserve the Ayurvedic theories and stick on to the Ayurvedic theories. And Ayurvedic theories of rasa, though at present they may not be substantiated by the pharmacological principles of the present day, I am sure if we wait for a few years, all that new theories coming up would be based upon the seeing the taste and the impact on the physiological body. And with this, let me conclude. The Sushrutamidam Sutrasthane Rasa Vishesha Vijnaniya Nama Dvityatam If there are any questions, we'll try to answer and then wind up. Right, okay, fine. So no questions, so we'll wind up today. Thank you.